and then we'll go from there.
I'm going to be just digging around for documents all week. I ain't getting into it today. Thank you.
Okay. All right, good morning again, or good afternoon, and continue.
Information has been distributed to you each regarding the cost analysis of the primary, which I thought had been given to you earlier, but this breaks down what the cost will be for the primary loan. I also have communication from Tony Gaylor that was sent to me and to the President of the Board on June 27th of explaining with a couple of Attorney General's opinions attached. But the bottom line is, there's also a statute here, 2315-301, which clearly states that the Board of Supervisors is responsible for any and all costs dealing with any type of election. And as requested, I have also asked the chair of the Democratic Party and the Republican Party to be here if you would like to address them.
Okay. What's the pleasure of the board? Is there any supervisor that would like to talk to either committee, executive committee?
I wouldn't mind talking to Mr. President.
All right. Mr. Stokes would like to talk with him. Okay. You have them come forward, Ms. Norris and Mr. P. Perry. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Okay. Supervisor Stokes.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm trying to read well without my glasses and make it more difficult than I wanted to be, but it's all right. This is what we have in front of us.
We have several other people here that have the same problem.
We don't have $66,000. And I heard Ms. Carpenter, before y'all got here, stated that we can go into next year's budget. It sounds good, but we still have to find $66,000 that we can't find. We got the Judge Green telling us to cut her budget, and we got enough from her today. Everywhere they cutting budgets. We don't have the money. The youth detention center, they drug courts, they out. What monies do y'all have, if any?
May I make a suggestion, sir? The $2.5 million that you want to transfer from the Pines corridor to recreation, why not slice out some of that to pay for the budget? Thank you.
Mr. Stokes, if I may.
I can understand the election commission's position. The election commission can vote on that, but it takes supervisors to do what we're trying to do.
Mr. Stokes, it doesn't matter if you have the money, you have a total budget, the law says you pay the expenses. Elections are the foundation of our democracy. It's one thing that is a responsibility of this county to do. The fact that you might want to avoid having a primary because maybe you want to screw up this whole system so that your appointees...
Stop. Let's keep to the issue. Let's not get personal. Let's get to the issue.
Okay. It doesn't matter if you have it. You have money in the budget for a number of things. You have another budget coming up. This is a required expenditure of the county. It is a basic principle of the county that you pay for the election expenses. If you go to the statute, I think it's the one that was quoted in the letter to us. 301. No, the one that talks about it does not have to be in the budget. The election expenses and judicial and court costs and all that don't have to be in the budget.
Okay. Now, yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
No, I listen.
No, I was just going to say that number one, the reason that this election is important to both of us, to both parties, is because at some point in time here in Hinds County and in the city of Jackson, we've got to be able to take care of ourselves when it comes to elected officials, what they need, what we need to do. Running as an independent doesn't help anyone. And Pete is here, but when I was growing up, I was told, you know, you lay down with an independent, you wake up with a Republican. Now, that doesn't mean. But
She said we're feeling perfect.
okay, but you know, it all boils down to just the fact that Phil Carter actually at the Attorney General's office told us that there is no other. You know, there are no other reprieves. At some point, you have to find the funds from somewhere, but we will indeed be having this primary and probably a runoff. The last thing I want to address to you is I received a letter from the Board of Supervisors, and a statute, a code was actually cited erroneously, I would assume, but nevertheless cited, that it was supposed to be in favor of the board not funding the elections, when in fact the particular cite code that was cited supports the parties. It supports the primary, so I'm not understanding why there's such a problem with the funds, because you obviously.
Right now, we're at a point, and I understand that election commission might have money in their budget to pay for it. If they don't have it in their budget,
No, sir. What I'm
it's going to
saying.
take 3 votes up here to authorize it.
I understand what I'm saying, Mr.
And I'm not trying to count the votes. I can't speak for nobody but Kenneth Stokes.
Right. I understand.
And I don't think you would want someone to vote to pay something, to issue somebody a bad check. I'm not going to do it, and I don't know who will. But what I'm saying, we don't have $66,000.
But according to the letter that was sent, according to the letter that was mailed out to us, and the site that was cited by the board attorney or the board of supervisors, you all cite the code that tells us, and it admits, you're admitting that you have to pay for our primary.
No,
that's all I'm saying. Yes, it does.
I didn't admit that.
Yes, it is. It's in this letter. It
Mr.
is.
Stokes,
Okay, let's.
301.
It's in the letter.
301 says you pay the cost of the elections.
Of what?
2315-301.
what?
2315-301 says you pay the cost of any election.
Of what?
1911-15, which is the code that y'all cited saying it's not in your budget. If you read the rest of that one that you didn't cite, says elections don't have to be in the budget. It's like capital expenditures and court costs. They're excluded from the fact that they're not in the budget. The fact that you say you don't have it in the budget is not an excuse for you not to pay a lawfully required expenditure.
Well, you can tell somebody that who might believe it. But I know that government cannot be in the red. And if we pay for this, we're going to be in the red. So are you telling me that we're supposed to go in the red, that we can't afford, we don't have the money for? Government cannot go in the red. That's absolutely. Now you can say all these, and we can say there's a conflict in law if you want to, but government cannot spend the money that they don't have.
We did not.
Can't do it. Can't do it. You can talk till you turn black.
And you
but
can't
that
do
is
it.
true.
You can't.
Government cannot go in the red.
Okay, then do we get to answer that? We don't care where you get this money from.
I know you don't, but
It's
we
not our problem.
We don't have the money.
Excuse me, Mr. Stokes, I got a chance.
We don't have.
Stop. Let's stop at this particular point.
Let me answer this question.
No, let's stop. Let's just stop and just stop and let's back away for a minute, and just all we're trying to do is just trying to maintain order. We have a statement from Dr. Walker, then Ms. Calhoun, and then we'll continue with the conversation. We just want to stay in order. Okay, Dr. Walker, is it something that you wanted this time, or we'll go directly to Ms. Calhoun?
Why don't you get Ms. Calhoun first?
Okay, Mrs. Calhoun.
Mr. President, I'm ready to vote on the matter of discussion. I will support you all's request. By statute, the Hines County Board of Supervisors is responsible for the expenses of conducting elections. And so I will support what I am legally bound to. Or binded to.
All right, Dr. Walker.
I wanted to be clear that I support the democratic process. I don't support some attitudes that I see here this morning. I think the law is very clear, but maybe the motives are kind of fuzzy and unprecedented, by the way, okay? Unprecedented in the sense that there have been numerous times in this county where there have been requests for what there's going to need for special elections without, the party primaries. That's the part that's kind of fuzzy to me. The law is clear. I would hope that we could share our points in a more civil way, because civility promotes and encourages understanding. And let me just say one other thing while I have the floor. We're not talking about $66,000. That's for the primary. And in the event there will be a runoff, then that's another part of the money in the Democratic.
Go ahead.
Well, maybe Mrs. Commissioner Cochran could respond to that. If in the Democratic primary in District 2, if they are the two, if nobody gets 50% plus one, then there will be a runoff.
Correct.
And I'm familiar with the election law because I served as Assistant Secretary of State for Mississippi for 2 years. So it's very clear, and I understand the law.
And that figure of 66,000 does not include the runoff.
It does not
Because we
include
do
the
not
runoff.
know what elements will be involved in a runoff.
Because if there's a primary, a runoff in District 2, it should be roughly maybe a bit more than half of that, since one is weighted more than the other.
Correct.
But I believe in democracy. The government is upholding by the people, and as the electoral process plays a big role in this. And I have no choice but to support it. But something has to be done to make it fiscally possible.
May I address that too?
Yes, continue, please.
We, and you guys may not know this, but we have sat down and literally cut what it would normally cost, cut it up. Pete Perry and myself have sat down and we have cut back, and we've cut, and not to ruin the integrity of the election. There's just certain things that we can do without. We have our own group of people, group of instructors as far as training. So we have that. That's not added into that. There are just so many different things that are normally done in an election that we have been, as a group, that we've been able to carve out to get to that number. And I think that speaks volume, because very seldom will you find this group, we're totally polar opposites, right? But we can sit at the table, and we can sit down and make a decision. We may not like it, but it's for the betterment of the election and the sanctity of the election. And me personally, I feel like we did a great job. And I'm asking on behalf of everyone else that we allow this to move on, because we're ready to run.
Let me ask a question, please. I heard you say that you worked with both parties working together. I also believe in the democratic process. Can you tell me why no one contacted the Board of Supervisors at the beginning of this process, and in specific me, to let this process move in a more natural way, as opposed to going through the board attorney, which I didn't find out things until days later. Still, no one from the Republican Party or the Democratic Party has talked to me specifically other than through memos.
Well,
they talked with the media, but they couldn't find a way to my office.
No, I know how to get to your office, but on my part, what was it had nothing to do with meeting with you. I'm so accustomed to working with our election commissioners, and so we moved election commissioners. As far as I was concerned, you guys were at the check. You ready for the check. Connie Ms. Cochran, she always deals with that type of thing. So it was not anything as far as being rude or not wanting to include, and, so on and so forth. This is new to me too. When I found the statute, it blew my mind because had never heard of it. I had never, we could have been doing this a long time ago. So it was more of a project that we worked on, and then wanted to get started on, but it had absolutely nothing to do with not wanting to speak with anyone else.
Thank you. Then we go, Mr. Perry, we'll come back there.
Just let me address your question too, if I may, right? My only contact was a letter to you, not to the attorney. I thought it was more appropriate if it was going to the board to go to the board rather than the attorney. And mine was a follow-up after I got by some other source. I don't even remember how I got it. I got Ms. Norris's letter about they were going to hold a primary, and so we just notified them that if they're going to do it, we are going to hold one too. And that was the last contact we had, other than many meetings with the election commission, which I understood that the board was going to be represented at. So, you don't have to get hold of me. I could have called you, but I had no reason to call you. We just put you on notice that if they're going to hold a Democratic primary, we're going to hold a Republican. I'm sorry if you felt offended with that. I didn't mean to offend you, but
it's not a part of being offended. I just wanted to make sure that we go about this and using the proper protocol, because the election commission cannot sign a contract. The contract comes through the board of supervisors, and that's the only thing that I wanted to make sure. We go to Mr. Stokes, and then
our role, though, as an election official, is to work with election commissions. Whose role it is to run the elections. What the board does by paying the bills. We don't come to you with regular primary elections. We go through the election commission.
Right.
This is the same thing. We didn't see anything different. So we felt like dealing with the election commission was the appropriate place. If the board had questions, we'd have to come to the board about it.
Well, the only reason why this was an unprecedented move, and we were caught off guard because of the fact that this was an unbudgeted expense, and we were just caught off guard. Mr. Stokes, and then Ms. Kenneth.
I have a motion. I move that we ask our legal people to write the Attorney General's office and get an opinion. I see reading all of this information, saying something about discretion by the board, and I think we need an opinion, Attorney General's opinion, as to where you're at the end of the budget and there's no money, and you're forcing the county to go in the red, whether or not that will have any impact on this situation. You can't force government. Government can't operate in the red. That's my motion that we ask our Lord to send to get Attorney General's opinion.
Okay, let me just make sure that before I think Ms. Calhoun has a motion. Ms. Calhoun, do you want to withdraw your motion, or you want to keep your motion before we go to Mr. Stokes' motion?
I never did make a motion,
okay,
but I will make a motion, but I would like to clarify something, verify something.
So we will go to this motion.
The election commissioners' cost analysis include funds for poll workers. If I'm not mistaken, I heard both parties say that you will take on the responsibility.
No. We'll train. We'll train them. We're actually going to have the same poll workers.
We'll share some
poll workers.
That cost will be reduced.
That's
county will still be paid for, but that cost will probably be reduced in certain precincts.
That's what I'm
yes, ma'am. We are
so what I'm asking then, the $66,000 will be that dollar amount.
That's not
Don't go there. No. That's just for the primary, but that will.
Yeah, just for the primary. Would that
It'll probably be less.
It's gonna be less. It's gonna be. Well, that's a high
less.
number, so it would be, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, well, Mr. Stokes has made a motion. Mr. Stokes, would you repeat your motion that we lay this to the side, or?
We get Attorney General's opinion concerning this matter in terms of the discretion of the board and the issue, the subsequent issue, enforcing government in the red, where it's against state law for government to be in the red. And we need the Attorney General's opinion about us paying for the election that we don't have money for at the end of the budget year.
Okay, it's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. Mrs. Calhoun has her light on. Mrs. Calhoun, and then we'll vote.
May I say something before you take action on that?
Yes, and that's the point.
Wait,
that I was
just
getting ready to
one
bring.
quick second.
That they
Mrs.
are working
Calhoun.
against a timeline.
And before I came
Now.
back over, I spoke with Phil Carter at the Attorney General's office. He said if you want to hear the Attorney General's opinion, he's going to refer you to 2315-301 that states that you are obligated to pay for the expenses. So getting an opinion is not going to change anything. And we are against a time frame.
Okay.
Do you want me to respond to that, Mr. President?
No, we'll just go ahead and allow anyone else to talk, and we'll go ahead and we'll vote on this.
I'm gonna close on this. This was the other thing. The reason that the letter was written to the board attorney was because at that time we had to have pre-clearance. So all of our letters and inquiries, we sent them to the board attorney so that he can package it all up and send it to the DOJ. But of course, we know now that went out the window. So that was the reason that it went to him so fast at that time. We were going against the deadline. Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Walker.
Previous question.
Okay. It's been moved and properly second that the motion from Mr. Stokes is that we get an Attorney General's opinion before we move forward. All in favor, say by aye.
Yes.
Opposed to?
Nay.
Motion passes. We'll get an Attorney General's opinion as it relates to this, and this is being placed on hold until which time that we get that opinion to advise us to move forward. We thank you very much for...
Y'all can get an Attorney General's opinion. We are going to continue to do our job. We're going to expect the Election Commission to do their job, to put on what it takes to do this primary, which means we're working today and tomorrow. And y'all can decide to go get somebody to read the law to you that's there. As far as we're concerned, I think it was the same for the Democrat Party. We're going to expect the Election Commission to do their job. We expect the board to do their job, but if they want to delay, that's okay.
That's fine. We'll move from that particular part. Thank you very much. We appreciate you coming in. And
Thank y'all.
Mrs. Calhoun.
Let me suggest that we get a member of the Attorney General staff on the line. That way, the information will be legally verified by the Attorney General's office. I believe these respectful people here that the Attorney General will refer us back to statute 2315-301.
Okay. I don't think anyone's disputing what they're saying, Ms. Calhoun. Mr. Stokes just made a motion and requested certain board action through that motion. And unless he changes his motion, then we've made a motion to get the opinion from the Attorney General. And I'm assuming that you want that in writing, Mr. Stokes.
That's how Attorney General's opinion is done, Mr. President, in writing.
Mr. President, I
Yes.
would like to make a motion that this board recess until such time we verify the information from the Attorney General's office.
Okay, you can make a motion to recess, but
At the end of all, after we take care of all business, and that way we can come back.
okay, we'll take that up at the end of the board meeting. That's your request for a recess. Okay, we'll do
And
that.
meanwhile, the board attorney can verify with the Attorney General's office.
Thank you very much. We'll continue with our printed agenda. We'll now go to the Honorable Ms. Carmen Davis. And we'll continue with our agenda. If I can stand it.